Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
I mentioned in sort of the intro to the meditation, the practice that we were using is a practice of Tonglen, which is to use the sacred power of our hearts as a transforming, powerful energy. It is also the gift of a Bodhisattva, which is really, it's a very holy kind of being in Buddhist tradition that, that has ascended to the point of awakening or complete enlightenment, but doesn't choose to take that final step in the practice of walking the human experience. In other words, to help lead others, to support others, to help bring greater compassion to the world and help transform the suffering of others in that awareness. So it is, I think, something that we can all aspire to. The Dalai Lama says that he is not that, but that he certainly recognizes it and aspires, to it, and wants to hold his heart in compassion and practice, which is part of the Buddhist spiritual practice all the time. In Tonglen, what we can do is become conscious, because in conscious awareness, as we were becoming consciously aware of the discomfort and the pain of suffering, of hurt, of grief, of fear, of separation, of not belonging, of anything that is not peace and not joy and not comfortable, but really opening ourselves to the discomfort and to the pain and the challenge that we find in human life all the time, and being able to really feel it with the out-breath, dispelling it, we can actually experience the relief of it. And in experiencing the relief of that, we can also bring in with our conscious awareness all suffering and lift it from others' hearts, whether near and far, whether we know them or not, whether we're conscious of them or not, whether they're conscious of us or not. We can relieve the load of human suffering by carrying it through the compassion of a heart. And even though my heart might seem like it's over here, and yours is over there, or over there, or over there, the truth is we are one heart. And so the vastness that we share of the human experience that we can all register and recognize, that when a human heart is open and receptive, it can literally be a portal for transforming all suffering, all pain into dispelling and relief and light and blessing. And with releasing a prayer, we can do that consciously at any moment that we recognize it in ourselves or in others. Last week, Reverend Jean Marie explored how we embrace our own humanity in acceptance and with compassion, holding ourselves gently. Tonight, we're expanding that circle of compassion with each breath to include the world, just as we did in our meditation. Rainer Maria Rilke said, "I live my life in widening circles that reach out across the world. I may not ever complete that last one, but I give myself to it." That could be the mantra of any bodhisattva, to constantly open, expand, and be willing to take on countless circles, broadening, expanding, moving beyond my simple human life, and see myself as a transforming agent to love, to serve, to remember what it is that I've come here to be, to do. This is your work. No matter what else it is, no matter what forms it takes, no matter how it is that your gifts are given to you to act and to express in the world, all of that's important. But recognize that this process of finding a way to alleviate suffering and to open one's heart and to practice that on a regular basis, so that even in my suffering has purpose, that even your suffering has purpose, not to wallow in it, but to release it, and then to invite more suffering, to relieve the world of that suffering. It is the calling of the enlightened heart, of the opening of our deepest connection. See, our attention is our most basic form of love. If I'm paying attention to you, if I'm asking you questions, if I'm learning who you are, I'm putting attention on you, you feel the light of my awareness on you. You feel that you're really being listened to or heard or experienced. I know I do when someone asks me a penetrating question or asks for depth on something that I'm sharing, that I know that they're really paying attention. I can feel that they're experiencing it with me, that they're curious about it, that they're bringing themselves to it, right? Krishnamurti said, to pay attention means we care, which means we really love, really love. And it's simply an awareness. It's simply being conscious out of our own thoughts. How many times have we been talking about getting out of our heads? If we could just reside below the chin a little bit more often for longer periods of time, the world would be different. Our lives would be different. Mother Teresa viewed each destitute, sick, dying person she cared for. She called them Christ in his distressing disguise. She saw the divinity and the perfection in the despairing, lowest possible state of a human being. From this view, she was able to see beyond the differences that might have hardened her heart. And instead, she served with unconditional compassion each person she touched. She, by her example, by her words, by her teaching, by her love, transforms the suffering of the world and gave us all a pathway, an understanding, a model to follow. She says, if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. In this war-torn, politically strident world, globe, country, city, county, it feels like everywhere we look, we're tearing apart from each other. We are tearing each other apart in so many ways that we forget that we actually belong to each other, that the basic premise of our experience and of our life is that we are one. She says, it's easy to love the people who are far away. She says it's not always easy to love those close to us. It is easier to give a cup of rice to relieve hunger than to relieve the loneliness and pain of someone unloved, or feeling unloved in our own home. Bring love into your home, she said, for this is where our love for each other must start. Now that's a whole lesson all to itself, and I don't have time to go into that, but consider what that might mean for you. What is the circumference of your home? Who's close to you that you may have neglected or that you're at odds with? That will be the first place to focus a lot of your love and your compassion, your understanding, relieving your own suffering at the same time, embracing another's. Compassion allows us to see the truth of our shared suffering. See, the Bodhisattva's aspiration is, may my life be of benefit to all beings. Love, serve, remember why I've come. That my life may be of benefit to all beings. How can I, by my breath, by my consciousness, by my attention, by my love, by my actions, how can I be at one with that idea of serving the world? Every moment, with everything that I am, like Rilke said, I give myself over to it completely. We participate in the world through our power of attention. There's a story that Tara Brach, in the book that we're using, that she wrote, Radical Acceptance, she tells of Vicky, who came up to her after one of the meditations that she led. And Vicky reported that a wonderful thing had happened since she'd begun doing this practice of asking, what does he or she need? What is life like for this person? What do they fear? So she began doing this practice when seeing colleagues at work, neighbors walking their dogs, clerks at stores, and she began saying in her mind, you are real. In other words, not a figment of my imagination, not behind me. I see you. That's really what she's saying. You are real. You're something. You're someone. You're someone I only partially see or partially know, but there is more to you. I'm reaching out to you. So she says, you are real. You are real. She practiced repeating that. Rather than being the backdrops of her life, she was finding them start to come alive for her. She noticed a gleam of curiosity in the eyes, a generous smile, an anxious grinding of teeth, a disappointed and resigned slope to the shoulders, the sorrow in a downcast look. If she stayed a moment longer, she could also feel their shyness, their awkwardness, or their fear. Vicky told Tara, the more real they are to me, the more real and warm and alive I feel. I feel a closeness in just being humans together. It doesn't matter who they are. I feel like I can accept them as part of my world. Can you imagine if you became a little more aware, attending, looking up, looking out, taking in, not reacting to the presence of another person within the agenda of your own thoughts and the agenda of your own needs, but rather really starting to notice, to pay attention. Tara Brach says, aversion in us arises because we're so deeply conditioned to feel separate and different from others. Aversion and judgment close our hearts to others and cuts us off from the sense of community and oneness that we say we believe, that we know is true, but we experience so infrequently, it seems. We lose our sense of belonging when we believe in arbitrary qualifications of deserving or deserving friendship or family or protection, resources, housing, healthcare, work, prosperity. Did I start to sound a little political? Well, yes, but it's all on a continuum, folks. A continuum of widening circles. A society reveals its values by how it cares for the most vulnerable among us. That's what a society is. It's meant to be lifting up all of us together. We all belong, or so we say. A society reveals its values, how our question of our own spiritual values, our own social values toward humanity itself, and how we express our belonging to one another. Belonging. You belong here. That right there would change everything if we saw one another as all belonging. I belong, therefore you belong. What if I walked with that idea in my mind? I could transform the world. You could. You could certainly transform your life. Me too. If I began to see myself as belonging to everything I see, everywhere I go, whatever it is, belonging, being in my right place, and therefore everything else being in its right place, everyone being as they are, right where they are, as they are. Would that shift our world? Would that change our politics, our policies? Would that change how we ordered ourselves and how we cared for one another? It's a question we have to ask ourselves if our social and political order doesn't reflect our values. How then shall we live in it? What is ours to do? And how do we use the power we have? Pay attention. You have more power than you think. Your power comes with responsibility. It's not for others, it's for each of us. So let's use our spiritual practice to begin to change our way of seeing and participating in the world. Like typing, you know how we type people, those types of people, those people over there, those guys, those, them, they don't understand, we over here, automatically separates us and automatically hardens our hearts. But the practice could be when the thought arises of what someone did or didn't do, believes or doesn't believe, that led to their state in life, ask yourself, well, that's why they're like that. Well, that's how they got there. Well, that's why they live the way they do. That they want to. That's how they are. Don't stop there, though, because that's justification. Ask yourself, and so? And so? What else is true? What is beneath that? What else could be true? What else is going on? What other drivers might there be? What other opportunities are not available? What other things might be happening? What other explanations could there be? Am I willing to cut myself off from them by hardening my heart? Is that okay with me? Is that in accordance with my values? Pay attention to my heart, not just my rationale about them. A nice, neat, tidy explanation. I don't have to think about it anymore or worry about it, fix it, responsible. Suddenly I realize my heart is closed too. Is that how I want to live? And so, how instead might I open my heart? Can I not see how I could be one of those conditions? I could be one of those people if my life had been different. Am I willing to follow that continuum of logic that cuts me off from my own vulnerability, fallibility, humanity, lovability, compassion, belonging? Right? If I do it to you, I'm doing it to myself. I'm the one that starts the suffering cycle by being satisfied with some logical explanation for why they are the way they are, or not the way they should be. And in my heart, I start the suffering cycle of shutting myself down, closing myself off. And I should ask myself, and so what does that mean for me? And begin to see how trapped and hopeless they may feel, that I would feel if I lived that way. And I move from judgment and hard-heartedness to sadness and compassion, open-heartedness. From there, I may see a way to support, something to give, something to do, something to pray, something to hold. Yes? Yes. Our own belonging begins with acceptance in our hearts. No matter what we close our heart to, something remains unacceptable, unlovable in ourselves, and we're shut down and shut out of life. We then live in the experience of the trance of not belonging, when we ourselves are the ones who shut the door, who excluded ourselves. Our metta practice that we do here every Wednesday night, where we speak the words of metta practice, one line includes, "May all beings be free of suffering." We hope we hold ourselves open to that understanding. And that's what the Bodhisattva is aligned with, relieving suffering. Mother Teresa said, "I used to pray that God would feed the hungry or do this or that. But now I pray that He'll guide me to do whatever I'm supposed to do, what I can do. I used to pray for answers, but now I'm praying for strength. I used to believe that prayer changes things, but now I know that prayer changes us, and we change things. True prayer starts with a desire in the heart to make things better. Isn't that true? When you want to pray, you don't pray for things to stay the same. Well, I hope it gets better, kind of, but, no. Better, more. Transformed, changed. I participate in the world of wholeness and belonging, and extend the circle of our compassion to all beings. My granddaughter, Violet, was in her room, and her room was a mess. And her mom came in and was chastising her. She needs to make her bed, and she picked something up off the floor, my daughter did, her mom, and she saw a spider on the ground, and she just reflectively stepped on it, killed it instantly. And Violet goes, "Oh, no," she said. "That's the spider that lives in my bed." A friend. Why? Because she was paying attention. She's noticed that this spider came and went. Not just one time, not just crawled in her bed, an intruder, a neighbor who lives in her bed. And without knowing, my daughter had broken that relationship. We can extend this compassion out to the world. Let's take a moment to be with the tenderness of caring for other living beings. What beings have you known through your attention and caring? Non-human. I have a teacher, a shamanic teacher, who calls them greater humans, greater than human beings. Birds or squirrels you feed, animals that live with you, butterflies you attract to your garden, wildlife that visits your home or neighborhood. Remember, the web of life is our home. The web of life, all of it, is our home. The poet Gary Lawless says, when the animals come to us asking for our help, will we know what they are saying? When the plants speak to us in their delicate, beautiful language, will we be able to answer them? When the planet herself sings to us in our dreams, will we be able to wake ourselves and act? The compassion of the Bodhisattva is nothing short of changing the world. May my life be of benefit to all beings. Mother Teresa said, we can do no great things, only small things, with great love. Namaste.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.